Red Bull have just shocked the competition by introducing a huge upgrade to Max Verstappen's car, and this could be the kind of upgrade that changes the whole season, like McLaren's Miami upgrade in 2024. Could they change their fortunes around from this weekend onwards? So, Red Bull Racing isn't sitting still. Following a rocky start to the 2025 Formula One season, the Milton Keynes-based team is releasing a big wave of updates, beginning in Miami, that might change the title race. With McLaren now leading both titles and Oscar Piastri topping the drivers' standings, Red Bull is preparing to hit back strongly. Max Verstappen, who is now 12 points behind Piastri and also trailing teammate Lando Norris, will be the first to test the new equipment. A first substantial update is already coming in Miami, Red Bull stated. Red Bull will introduce a new floor during the sprint weekend. Max Verstappen will drive with it. Teammate Yuki Tsunoda, not yet. The floor is only Section 1. The development path has been divided into 3 key stages, with a 4th and final phase slated to launch in Spain. The whole progression of the RB21 will be unveiled in Miami, Imola, and Barcelona. Red Bull was encouraged by its performance in Jeddah, despite the fact that Verstappen described the car as unpredictable. The Dutchman nonetheless managed to get the RB21 on pole and finish second, with only a controversial penalty and Oscar Piastri's consistency keeping him from victory. One of the problems the RB21 is suffering from is a very unstable balance, Verstappen has said. It changes the behavior in the various phases of the curve, going from oversteer to understeer, often making it unpredictable. To tackle this, Red Bull has already implemented considerable internal changes. Changes to the cooling system, including a reworked rear heat exchanger, have improved weight distribution, and unseen floor upgrades have been implemented as a prelude to the Miami overhaul. While not noted on the FIA's update sheets, these behind-the-scenes changes are equally important. The Miami GP will be a stern test, with higher temperatures and more aggressive tyre wear circumstances. In Bahrain, the main problem was the lack of protection of the rear, with the tyres overheating too much in qualifying and degrading quickly in the race. In Jeddah, this problem was not seen, but they asked for greater protection of the front axle, noted Red Bull insiders. Miami's combination of slow-speed curves and long straightaways presents a unique challenge. What happens next, however, may be more important. Imola will represent the next important checkpoint. That's where Red Bull intends to bring what many see as the centerpiece of their 2025 development. Red Bull also intervened on the floor, but with a modification in the lower part, the one not visible, which therefore did not require official recognition in the well-known FIA document. It is a modification that we can also define as preparatory, with a view to the future, towards the most important package of the 3, which should arrive in Imola. Team. Principal Christian Horner and Technical Director Pierre Wache are banking heavily on this upgrade cycle to help the team win the title. What's the goal? To get Verstappen to the Spanish Grand Prix with a margin of less than 25 points, 1 full race behind Piastri. This will give Verstappen a huge chance to challenge to frontrunners. And why Spain? That's when the new technical directive, TD, kicks in, focusing on front-wing flexibility. Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes feel McLaren could be vulnerable to this adjustment. As previously mentioned, the team most under the magnifying glass is McLaren, which for this reason, by many, is indicated as the team that will be most affected by that measure. Matteo Bobby of Auto Racer Live added, "From Barcelona, McLaren will be nowhere," echoing Red Bull paddock talks that a decrease is likely if the flexible wing interpretation is tightened. The MCL39, led by Rob Marshall's aggressive design philosophy, ironically, a former Red Bull engineer, is now the most balanced and adaptive car on the grid. However, its performance is heavily dependent on peak aerodynamic efficiency and optimal tyre management. If the TD disturbs this equilibrium, the dominoes may fall. Even Ferrari and Mercedes are paying careful attention. Charles Leclerc and George Russell have both indicated that McLaren's dominant form is more susceptible than it appears. Meanwhile, Red Bull is relying on Max Verstappen's exceptional consistency. Despite the RB21's restricted setup window and tyre sensitivity on rear-limited courses, Verstappen has already secured 2 pole positions and a race victory. The RB21 is a two-faced car, very competitive on front-limited circuits but in great difficulty when racing on circuits with a strong restriction at the rear, analysts noted. The correlation concerns between Red Bull's simulation tools and on-track outcomes have complicated the setup process. However, Washe and his engineers hope that a reworked aerodynamic package and a more forgiving ride balance would help them close the distance. Updates planned between Miami and Imola have as their primary objective that of widening the operating window of a very competitive car if set up correctly, but easily in difficulty due to a package that is still very sensitive on non-ideal tracks. Add to that internal motivation, Red Bull is facing pressure for the first time in 3 years. No longer the dominant power, they must adapt and fight from behind. The final leg of this 4-phase development effort lands in Barcelona, with the flexible wing directive taking effect and Red Bull's most aggressive version about to debut. The championship might change in a single weekend. Max is convinced that he can compete for the World Championship if he arrives at that stage still close to them, team sources claim. McLaren, for its part, is not likely to remain still. However, with fewer apparent upgrades scheduled before Spain and increasing scrutiny of their front-wing interpretation, they face the same level of uncertainty as Red Bull. This 3-race stretch, Miami, Imola, and Barcelona, is more than just a schedule. This is the turning point. Will Red Bull's phased development plan regain Verstappen's dominance? Will McLaren stand firm as the actual heirs to F1's throne? The countdown to Miami has started. The floor goes on. The data will come in. The fight for the 2025 title may never be the same again. What comes out of this Miami update could shape Red Bull's destiny for the remainder of the season. If the revised floor and rebalanced setup can stabilize the RB21's handling throughout a wide range of conditions, Verstappen may be able to unleash the dominance for which he is known. Improved tyre life and a wider operating window would make Red Bull not just more competitive in qualifying, but also more lethal during lengthy stints, where McLaren has traditionally thrived. However, there is also a chance that the upgrades will not correspond. If Red Bull's growth path fails to generate the predicted gains, especially before the Spain directive goes into effect, they may find themselves with fewer solutions and under increased pressure from Ferrari and Mercedes, both of which are going through their own development periods. In the best-case scenario, Verstappen closes the distance on Piastri, or perhaps overtakes him at Imola. In the worst-case scenario, the team loses ground, morale suffers, and the storyline turns towards a new beginning in 2026. Miami is more than just another Grand Prix. It's a testing ground, a test of engineering, resilience, and Verstappen's unwavering will. One thing is certain. By the time we leave Spain, the championship will be completely different. Will Red Bull be back on top, or will McLaren fade into the distance? And will this upgrade make Verstappen more than a semi-outsider for the title? And could the TD really mess up McLaren's season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.